Okay, in this example here, we are going to see how a metal strip is used as a sensor. A metal is just a piece of metal. It could be steel, it could be any type of metal that bends when it's subjected to heat. In this case, they've used two types of metal and then they combine them, like gluing them, putting them together, attaching them. This side usually is brass and this side is usually steel, but in this case they used another material, which is a combination of nickel and iron. So Invar, it's called Invar. So in this case, we see here this is heat applied to that metal, a gas flame here. When you apply the heat onto the metal changes from this state and it starts to bend. And that's why I was saying that a sensor could be anything that changes state. So basically it has moved from its original state and now it's onto another state, excuse me. And now if you remove the heat, it will actually comes back to its original state. Basically now this can be used as a switch, because now if it can move from one state to another and then restore back to another state, it's actually a good example of a switch. And on this third diagram we see now here as it's used as a switch. What then happens here is an electrical contacts. They put electrical contacts here. That means when the metal is heated, it moves away from the metal contacts, and on this side you could be hooking a circuit diagram like what I was showing you before. And now when it cools off, when the metal, the flame is removed and the metal cools off, what then happens is that it will touch and make contact with these electrical contacts, and electricity will start to flow depending on what circuitry you've put on the other side. Let's look at it in a much better form. I'm just gonna move this on the side. So basically now this is what would normally look. This switch is actually this part here. Now the thing is, when the electrical contact comes into that, what you could do is to wire this onto something like that, where now the electricity will start to flow because of a certain contact, you know, because you've now put a contact onto the, if you've connected the electrical circuit. I'm just trying to force this through onto a JPEG image, just to show how this works. This switch basically, it's more like it's replaced by that, because that now is controlled by heat, meaning that let's say you are putting this metal and subjecting it to, let's say, the sun. It will actually heat up in such a way that it can be used as some kind of a thermometer, and also it can be used also in a form of, you know, humidifier, or what do you call, I'm just missing the name, or basically it's used in stoves as well. The stove, actually your normal stove looks like this, where now when you're heating you have like a couple of switches here. That means as it moves over, it goes through all it has a dial where you can reduce the amount of flexibility. That is, if you put it somewhere here, because it will detract away for a shorter distance. You loosen a screw, it detracts even more. Basically what happens is that you are basically adjusting this as to how far close it will be between the two contacts, and that basically adjusts the temperature of the device you're trying to control. And what happens there is that if this touches there, it's like this switch won't be here, a light will go on, and that we can call it a heat sensor. You can also control things that you want to maybe control the temperature of the vehicle, or you want to control the temperature of a certain device, that when it reaches a certain threshold, the contact is made and it goes on. Also, you can make it as a closed switch like this, basically that attaching to that, so that when it gets cold, maybe you're controlling a device that you need, if it gets cold, what happens then is that this switch, it will remain on the open state. Now something gets cold, it closes and an alarm goes on. An alarm goes on, or a light switch goes on. So you can use it, as I said, it's more about temperature in this sense. We're controlling the heat through just a piece of metal, using it as an automatic switch, based on the properties that it will bend and retract. And we're saying that is a sensor, it's a heat sensor. Well, else it's just a set of a metal, attached to a switch, or rather a circuit. Hope that is clear for you.